We are here. We all know that today is the official day that the ministry put up for the beginning of third term, and I believe most of us have really experienced this, especially when it comes to traffic congestion the whole day amidst the rain. Children have gone to school, and we thank God for you who has been able to take your children back to school, and we pray for you who has not yet taken yours back to school, that may God enable you, because the term has started officially. But we have a lot of things to look out for. It's not a matter of just taking your child to school, drop them there, and then proceed to work. You need to pay attention to some of the things that really make that school where you've taken your child a school. Now, if you're a parent and you never paid attention to some of these things, you just took your child to a school because maybe they've advertised it, or someone has recommended it to you, or it is at the neighborhood within your reach, so you don't need much transport to take your child there. Please listen to this discussion as we discuss some of the expectations that you as a parent should have, especially when the schools have opened. Today we have Mrs. Doreen Ankunda, who is the Commissioner of Basic Education Standards, that is pre-primary and primary level. Mrs. Doreen, you're most welcome to this show again.
Thank you, Adrian.
It's a pleasure having you, and kindly greet our viewers, and then we continue.
Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here once again. Thank you, Adrian, for hosting me.
And then we also have JJ. Juma James. Juma James is a Supervisor Education Services in the Kampala Central Urban Council, that is Kampala Capital City Authority. JJ, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you this evening on board. Kindly greet our viewers.
Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much, Family TV, for this maiden invitation.
Okay. We are glad that we have both of you who are at the supervision level. Mrs. Ankunda is at the supervision level, and you are also at the supervision level. And we are really grateful that we have you this evening to take us through some of these things, especially when we discuss the expectations, because we know there have been a lot of things. We have schools which only operate as schools when the term is on, and when that term closes, they turn into something else. And then, so we have, and then when COVID came in, we saw very many schools going just like that. They are now rentals. Some schools operate without licenses, and parents never pay attention to this. In moments where schools catch fire, you realize that there are a lot of missing aspects that sometimes parents don't pay attention to. But good enough we have you, and I believe at the end of this discussion we shall have exhausted this. So just to begin it at this, Mrs. Doreen, what should parents, what kind of a school should a parent look out for when they are taking their child?
Thank you so much, Edwin. A parent should, not every institution you see is a school. There are many things you should look for as a parent. We cannot exhaust all of them, but definitely there should be good structures.
Okay.
Because structures should be big enough, they should be habitable. You look at actually the overview of the school. There should be a direction. The road to the school should be accessible. Then there should be a signpost. And then you will look at the overall management of the school. Does it have a head teacher? Does it have teachers? Does it have administration? Does it have many structures? Then after looking at that, you look at the staff organization, you look at the learners organization, how organized is the school, is there teaching and learning, do they have field, do they have a playground? Because we don't only concentrate on academics, we want children also to do co-curricular activities. We encourage a school which teaches a whole child. So you look at the sanitation, you look at the compound. Sometimes we talk of a talking compound. That is the when you go to the latrines, you look, does it have really latrines for boys and girls? You find schools, they have one stance, boys and girls go there. That is not healthy. Then you look at the discipline. How disciplined are the children in this school? Do they teach them on academics and they don't mind about discipline? Those are the things you actually should also look at. Then time. See, what time do they come to school? Are teachers mindful on when they have entered? Do they welcome them? Is there someone to welcome them at the gate? How is the security of the child when he enters the school? Because we expect a parent to escort and accompany this child to school. And when you are going away, you need to be assured that you have left your child in safe hands of the teacher. So a teacher should actually be at the gate to receive the child. And happily, the teacher cannot just sit at the gate and then you are giving a gloomy person. You know, you should be able to smile and say, Mary, John, you're welcome. And then you also know that I've left my child in good hands. So there are many things you look for as a parent, but not every structure you see is a school. Check whether there is there teaching and learning. Are children learning? Is there a change you see? Are they able to go back home and say, Mommy or Daddy, this is what I've learned? But if a child goes to school, then he comes back home, there is nothing he's doing, he can't even sing a song, he cannot even say anything, cannot say any rhyme, there is something not going right in that institution. So there are many things we look for. When I go to boarding section, some schools have boarding sections. So, and we find some schools, there is a school, they told us girls sleep with boys, which is also very, very unfortunate. So the girls should have their own dormitory and their own latrines for females, and then boys should have their own dormitory, also latrines and bathrooms, well organized according to the standards of a boarding section. But I don't want to talk about boarding section today because it is something so detailed and has brought us so many problems. And as ministry, we are so conscious about really boarding section. So before you begin to think of putting a boarding section, you have to think of so many, because the requirements are many and you need to be firm that you can satisfy us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before you talked about two outstanding things that I want you to expound on. One is the structures, and two is the talking compound. So how good should these structures be? Should they be so fancy? Should it be a flat, a storied building? Or how fancy should these structures be? And then when you talk about a talking compound, how talkative should this compound be? And with which phrases or which statements?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, a talking compound, there should be space for flower gardens. There should be a name for it. This is a flower garden. There should be co-curricular activities side, you mention it. Then classes, everything should be actually well labeled. Even office should be everything should be talking. You go to the office when you want enrollment, it is displayed in the office. This is the enrollment, these are the teachers. You don't need to go on asking, how many female teachers do you have? How many do you have a school management committee? It should even be there. How many boys do you have? Everything should be displayed. There should be a garden, school garden. These days people no longer have school gardens. Then there should be messages you want to talk to children, be clean, avoid AIDS, avoid COVID, so that whenever they are praying, they can read these messages. You know, aid skills, like during that time. And children they can learn through, they just look at and learn at their own by reading all this. Every corner should have at least something talking about it. Staff quarters, office of the head teacher, staff room, store, dormitory, P3 class. Everything should be talking. So that don't go on if an inspector comes. What is this? A resting room should be labeled. And so that the school is so attractive. When you enter, you really see an overview of the school being attractive. Because before you get to know the details of the school, definitely you have to see the structures. And you've talked about flats or what. They don't need to be flats. But sometimes you find classes which are so squeezed. A small room and has like over 50 kids. They are squeezed. They have nowhere to sit. They have a standard class should have like 18 desks, and each desk should have at least 3 children seated on it, and there should be space. They should not be squeezed, so that even the teacher can move around. So it doesn't mean that should be a flat, should be very, very, very expensive structures, but it should be strong enough and then enough for the few children. Another thing we are finding with especially private schools, they want to enroll so many at the same time. The children, they cannot even accommodate.
The more the enrollment, the more the money.
Which is not the truth. But for us, we talk of standards. You enroll those ones you can manage and can accommodate.
Wow. So, this is so interesting, and it is an eye-opener, I must say. So I believe a parent has started now thinking through, is my child really in a school or an example of a school? But we shall have a final judgment after this show. Mr. Juma, we look at what parents should look out for. Now, you as a supervisor or an inspector of schools, when you enter into a school, what are some of the things that you look out for as you are doing your supervision?
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Family TV for this invitation, and at the same time thank my colleague for what she has taken us through. There are several indicators that parents look out for, but I just want to add on what my colleague has said.
Yes, please do.
The first thing I would like to talk about is preparation. As the term opens, to what extent or how effectively is teaching and learning a prepared necessity in our schools. How have our schools prepared themselves in terms of teaching and in terms of learning? There are obvious things we talk about and which many teachers are taking for granted. We talk about a scheme of work. We talk about making lesson notes. We talk about internal support supervision supposed to be done by the schools. But these are very important things. Firstly, I want to appreciate our primary schools, most especially, both government grant aided and private. They have endeavored to prepare themselves in terms of what a teacher ought to have for the learners to say, yes, I think we are prepared to learn.
Okay.
And when I know, even if I've not gone out, if I go out tomorrow, most of my schools will have schemes of work, for example, prepared. They will have lesson plans prepared. They will have lesson notes. The biggest challenge you have is our secondary schools. They have a stereotype of thinking that they should not be able to prepare. And I want to implore them that let them prepare. Learning is a continuous process. We're supposed to learn, we're supposed to relearn and unlearn. There's that mentality of thinking you have learned it all and don't want to learn. So that's one expectation, that the teachers must be prepared. Okay?
Yes.
We have what we call internal support supervision. We're saying that the first inspector of the school is the head teacher. And the other auxiliary inspectors are members of staff. So before you wait for Mr. Juma to come to your school, how well are you prepared as a head teacher to do your inspection role? That's what I'm calling internal support supervision. Are you able to supervise your teachers and assess the extent which they are doing as far as basic requirements, minimum standards are concerned, and then give them support and build them? That's an expectation which I expect. Because me as an inspector, we may be 2 or 3 in the division, for example. I might visit a school once in a term. I may never visit a school. Kampala is a big area.
Yeah.
Yes, like in Central, I have more than 300 schools, for example. What's the pace? How many times can I visit a school? I'll have those challenges. So I expect a head teacher who is on the ground, a head teacher who knows the role of an inspector, and who is able to do support supervision with teachers even without me. Learning, on the other hand, my colleague has talked about many things. How prepared are the children? Even the children ought to be prepared. They ought to be prepared by their readiness to learn. They ought to be prepared by how clean and smart they are. They ought to be prepared by having been facilitated by their parents to have the tools which they are going to use for learning. For example, the exercise books, the pens, the food ratios, if they have to carry food, okay? Or that they are supposed to have a lunch, a midday meal. Those are all instances of preparation, okay? The teachers ought to be prepared by taking attendance of the learners, by taking enrollment of the learners, okay? By teaching all the subjects. So that is under preparation for both the teachers and the learners. Okay. The second preparation I want to talk about, I think the conducive learning environment, my colleague has talked about it a little bit in detail, but we want to see a safe environment.
Okay.
We want to see a safe environment for the learners. The most important stakeholder in a school is the learner. I've asked that question to many stakeholders and I've always failed. Others will tell you the head teacher is the most important. They are the inspector of schools. No. The most important, the number one stakeholder in a school is the learner. That's the person who has made us come here at this time. Yeah. We'll be at home enjoying TV, watching. We are now the ones to speak here because of the learner. Okay? We are going to go into this conversation into the night because of the learner.
Yes.
So the learner is very, very, very important. These other stakeholders will come in
later.
So we need a conducive learning environment. My colleague has talked about the infrastructure. What about the safety and security of the school? There are so many things talked about by the basic requirement member standards book. You know, a school is not a shop. When you were trying to open this conversation, you were talking about many schools have closed.
Yeah.
Those are parents, those are members who thought a school is a shop. You open it, and when you get out of business, you close. And they have been embarrassed because they are not able to fulfill the basic requirements and minimum standards. Even before we go there to say, you don't meet the basic requirement and standards, they have closed themselves.
They don't even wait for you.
They have not waited for us. That means the situation is bad. Another thing I want to talk about is the management of the school. The biggest manager of a school is the head teacher. How a head teacher runs a school is going to give us a reflection of how that school is run. Are you an autocratic administrator? Are you a democratic administrator? Do you mix autocracy and democracy? Are you a laissez-faire administrator? Have you been able to build a culture? There are many schools that have built cultures. When you mention school X, I'm not going to mention them here. Say that is the school. And every parent would like to run there to that school because they have been able to build a culture. So that's what we expect schools to do. We expect schools to build cultures. Cultures that can stand the test of time. Not you mention a school and somebody will say, hey, what about that school? Can you explain to me? I don't understand. No. That's number 3. The another thing I would like to state, which the parents and everybody would wish to see, which many times we will meet, is how the school is relating with the community and the parents. Many schools are isolated. Many schools are caged within themselves. Not knowing it's very important for the school to contribute to the community and for the community to contribute to the parents, to the school. So you as a school, what have you prepared to contribute to the community? And as a community, what have you prepared to contribute to a school? When you look at our basic requirement minimum standards, we have come up with 13 indicators. But those indicators can be summed up into the 4. Just to recap. Number 1, teaching and learning preparedness. Number 2, the management style of the head teacher. Number 3, a conducive learning environment. And number 4, the relationship between the community, parents, and the school. If we can go through those 4 very well, and if we are scoring 100, that's the kind of school that we expect to see, and every parent would wish to take the child to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Juma. Madam Doreen, we look at a parent, they have taken their child to school, and because a parent does a role of monitoring. Now we look at a parent who is monitoring, trying to monitor. At what level should they stop? What should they ask for, and what shouldn't they ask for that is beyond their level?
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Our parents are supposed to visit schools.
Okay.
Even if you have not, even if you are a parent who is not educated, you are able to check whether your child has studied by even looking at the book. There was one proprietor, one director of a school. He had not actually gone to school. Actually, most of the school, the directors, some of them have not gone to school, but
they have the money to start the business.
You would find him going around checking, looking at what the children have done. If he sees X, why? Why this? Why? Yeah? And even if you are a parent and your boy or child brings a book, you are able to at least to see the date. Today is 18th. You can see the red pen. There is a tick. There is X. You ask why? Corrections. Why we didn't do that? So parents have a role. You can go to anybody can enter into a school and know that there is teaching and learning taking place. First of all, you see that the whole school is calm. You see everyone is doing what he's supposed to do. You can see discipline. And that can also attract you really to know that this is a school. And then you may not enter the class because you may not be technical to know what he's teaching, but you can see how is the discipline. You can enter the office. How is the head teacher? How is he? Is he welcoming? Is he? Are teachers really dressed properly? Are they also disciplined? Do they care about visitors who have come in? You see, you enter and see. But there are technical things which are meant for technical people, like my colleague here. You go deep into how have the teachers prepared. Are they following the scheme of work? Is there really teaching and learning when you enter a class? Because the most important thing is teaching. And are they learning? These ones are able to know that children have learned. Through when the teacher asks question and answer. You teach, then at the end you ask questions. Then you see how children are responding. Then you can be able to tell that there is teaching and learning taking place. So a parent, there is technical. I know there are parents who are educated, some are teachers, and they want to enter class and start challenging teachers. You see, no, you've not done this. I'm also a teacher. I know what. There is free choice. You don't need to go to a school and start abusing everyone. There is a right way of doing it. If you are a teacher and you know what is supposed to be done, there is a way you should really talk to these teachers. Okay. I don't say you should keep quiet, but there is a way you should sit with either the head teacher or the teacher. Don't you think this should have been done like this? And even teachers, when they know that there's someone who knows more than what they know, they become conscious of what they do. So the parents' role in the school is actually limited to general things. And the way you comment should also be professional. You don't need to come and say, my child, why are you beating my child? Why are you doing this? I also know, I paid my money. Parents need to respect the administration. They need to respect the teachers. Because we say a school should be a second home. When they come from home, we encourage schools to be conducive for children. So that at least when they are coming from home, they are running, saying, I'm also going to a school I like. And parents, teachers welcome me, they love me. We expect the school to be loved, the teachers to be loving, to be accommodative, to know their children individually and see how to handle them. So the role of parent is an oversight role. Okay. Because you cannot send your child to school and then you just keep quiet. You need to know in detail. Is there security of my child? Is my child really secure? Is he safe? Like he has talked about it. You are concerned because this is your child. But when you reach school, then you should be disciplined on how. Unless you see your child is dying, then you can shout. But there are procedures of presenting your issues, so that you respect them and they also respect you. There should be a respect between. That is the relationship he is talking about. There should be respect for each other. Teachers should respect parents, and parents should respect teachers. Because I'm handling your child the whole day. You brought him in the morning, and you are taking him in the evening. Every time I'm the one with the child. And we also encourage parents to really engage in school programs. And when you engage in school programs, you will know more about what is happening in the schools. Because some parents just pay school fees and go away. They call them for meetings. It's only women who came.
That is very, very important. Actually, let's take a short commercial break. And from this break, we shall also look into that. Why is it that if it is a meeting, a school meeting or a visitation day, the population is dominated by women? We are taking a short commercial break. We shall be right back. Welcome back from the commercial break. We thank you so much, you who is still watching Church of Uganda Family TV. This is the Family Hour, empowering families, one episode at a time. Monday, we are always talking about education and career, and this is what we are discussing. We are discussing matters to do with education. We know we are in a back to school season. So, because it is back to school, we cannot let things go like that. It is important that you as a parent, you as a guardian, you as a caretaker, you know some of these things, especially when it comes to the choice of school for your child, because much as education is an investment, but not every structure represents a school, and not every school offers basic education that your learner needs. So it is important that you pay attention to what our guests are discussing. With us is Mrs. Doreen Ankunda, who is the Commissioner Basic Education Standards, pre-primary and primary level. But we also have Mr. Juma James, who is the Supervisor Education Services, Kampala Central Urban Council, KCCA. We are discussing back to school and what the expectations should be. Before the break, Madam Doreen had actually talked about a lot about parents and the role of the parents, and I cut you short because we had to break. So how do you finalize this, the role of the parents?
Thank you so much. Of course, the parent has an important role in selection of a school. And the most important thing is the health. Does the school have a nurse? The parents also have a role to tell the administrators the health condition of their children. Because we've had cases where the parents, they know the problem of their children, but they don't tell the teachers.
Yes.
And then you leave the child there, and then the child develops a problem, and when they call you, you say, hey, yes, she has been having it. Yes, I didn't tell you. You know, you need to, when you are presenting your child, you need to say, he has like asthma when there is coldness, he has allergy, he has this problem, so that the administration knows and how to handle. Because you know, some schools, like they are like army schools, when they say remove your sweaters, whether you have a problem or not, you have to remove. When they say, oh, run around here, there are schools actually they command like, I'm a man. And the children, they cannot refuse. Once they have said you need to run around, they have to run, whether I'm sick, whether I'm not, and then you find the child is collapsing. So it is your role as a parent to talk about your child's health. And they have talked about security.
Yes.
It is your role as a parent to follow up your child. Last time I talked about it, that when you follow up your child, the child also becomes also conscious. And also the teacher, he said, I need to follow up this child. I need to know how she is faring. Otherwise, when the parent calls me or when he asks, I don't know, I should have an answer. Yeah. And some parents continue telling children, you are not working hard. You want your parent to say that I'm not teaching you. So they are concerned. I'm not saying teachers should only be concerned about
When the
children
parents,
where
sure.
parents follow up, because a teacher is you're supposed to teach all children equally and mind about each one. But we encourage parents really to follow up. If you cannot travel there, at least call. How is my child? Huh? Have numbers for teachers and even a head teacher. Huh? So that you don't just throw out the child like, good riddance, be there. I'll get you when the schools go for holidays. Yeah, you need to know, because these children need you. Yeah. And there is a transition. When you need to prepare them psychologically as they go back to school, because the environment is completely different. You are in home, you have been eating, you have been free, you have been, and now you are going into another session. Much as I've been there, but it in a way tortures. School life sometimes tortures. Yeah. It has never been the best. Even if they gave you everything, but it cannot be compared with home. So as they prepare to go back to school, they need to be psychologically prepared, talked to, be encouraged. We also went to school, but you work hard. Never know. One time you gain out of that struggle. So it is the role of a parent to discipline the child. It is the role of a parent to give them moral support, spiritual support, so that they go when they are really covered and full of their parents' words and comments and encouragement. Even if the child is not performing well, don't say, you say, I've paid my school fees, go and waste it again. You say, I know you will improve. Yeah, I've paid school fees. I know you didn't perform this term, but I believe next time you will do better. So don't just throw your money. Yeah? We had one parent who would say, you look at this money, you look at it. Look at yourself and look at my money. So the child really becomes, you go say, my mother's money or my father's money, So they should be free, that, studies, it's never easy, but encourage them. It is the role of the parent, empower them. Say, maybe you didn't work hard, make sure you work hard this time. And then tell the parent the weaknesses of the child. The children, actually, who can perform when they are, the teachers are on them. And they are slow learners. Not every slow learner has some special needs. Talk about slow learners, they are special needs. There are people who really need special attention. So I just implore parents to do their role. Don't just say, how many you children, when are you going away? You are disturbing me. Yeah, so you are sending all the burden to the teachers. So you need to prepare them so that they are also happy when they are at home. And then transition them. Living home is not something easy. Yeah. Even if you are old and you stay outside your home, you don't feel comfortable. So you need also to sympathize with these children. And that's why we encourage teachers, please make the learning environment conducive for these children. Make sure the school is the second home. And parents, please follow them up. During visits, go and check on them. Call the parent, call that head teacher, call the teacher, so that you follow up. Don't just throw them there and say, okay, good riddance. I'm going now to do my own. Look for more money. Look for more money for next term. And then whenever they call you, say, you mother, go and check on them. It's not only the mother, really. In most meetings, there are only mothers who, that's where we ended, who go to meetings. So the child belongs to a mother and father. Let's play our roles as parents, because the child doesn't belong to one parent. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Madam Doreen. Mr. Juma,
yes.
what is your submission on the role a parent has to play as we go into, as you also take us through some of the minimum standards that a school is required?
Thank you very much, moderator. Parents' roles and inspectors' roles. I want to put it out very clearly.
Yes. Yes.
There are parents who have taken over the role of inspectors.
Mm-hmm.
The role of inspectors is highly technical. It's supposed to be done by a trained person. As an inspector, as my colleague, as an inspector, we go in to look at technical issues pertaining to a school. But she brought out the issue of parents who know certain things and then they go saying, I know this. Yes, you may be knowing. Don't go directly and confront the teacher. You can handle it with the head teacher. You can leave it happen in the way it is, so long as it's not very violent. Have an opportune moment, go and sit down with the teacher, with the head teacher. Because you may be a teacher, and as a teacher you have some knowledge of inspection. So inspection, the quality of teaching and learning, the quality of the nature of the environment, the quality of the relationship between the parents and the community, the quality of the leadership styles of the head teacher can be evaluated by somebody who is trained. And that's a person referred to as an inspector. We have an external inspector. I may come in your school as one. Then we have the internal inspectors. If you remember in my opening remarks, I said that the first inspectors of a school is the head teacher and his teachers. Those are the people who have that role. Now you, who may be having that role, please don't show it. It can cause problems for you. Have a time and have a chat with the head teacher and try to interest him or her in knowing where things have not worked well. Your role as a parent is purely a monitoring role. My colleague has taken us through the various areas of monitoring. When you go to a class to count the number of children who have attended that class on that day and gives you 20, and then you ask the children how many were supposed to be here, and they tell you they were supposed to be 23. Therefore, how many are absent? There are only how many? 3. That's your role. That's the role you're supposed to play. When you go to a class and use your eyes and you see somebody standing in a picture of a teacher teaching learners, whether he's teaching wrong matter or not, you don't know. That is not your role. So do your role. Your role is purely monitoring. It can be done by whether somebody went to school or has never gone to school. But leave the technical aspects of quality of teaching and learning to the inspector, the categories I've mentioned to you. And as much as possible, my colleague has said, have a peaceful environment, be able to solve the problems, the so-called problems you perceive in a school in a harmonious way by having an interface with the head of school, who is the head teacher. Okay? So that's what I wanted to bring out very, very clearly.
Okay.
That you know, most of what the lay person, like you, for example, perceive, you talk, the basic requirements are minimum standards. Those are the do's and the don'ts. What is in place and what is not in place. And many times it can be interpreted very easily, even with somebody who's not very technical. But the extent, when I say how far, how good, you have said a school should have toilets for the learners. My question will be, how many learners should be for 1 star? You see that? I'm becoming now more technical. That's the work of an inspector. That's not your work. But to you, you know, there must be toilets. Okay?
So I'm free to ask for them.
Yes. You don't know how many toilets. You don't know how many toilets should be there for how many girls, how many boys. So when you go into those technicalities of how many, or the toilets were clean, I will ask you how clean.
Okay.
What did they use to clean them? Okay. those are technical questions which can be answered by an inspector.
Okay.
And that is me, the external inspector, or the head teacher, or the teachers. Okay? So that is the BRMS, which I saw here. I think I saw Doreen had the BRMS.
Yes.
This document here has 13 indicators. It has been improved to have another indicator on accommodation, boarding facilities, the 13th indicator. And it has come because of the rampant scenarios of fires we have had. We have had many cases of fires in our schools.
Yeah.
We don't know where the fires are coming from.
Yeah.
We had the police coming in pronouncements about the do's and don'ts in terms of safety of the schools, the fire and so on. But the Director of Education Standards has come up with very clear set standards on boarding facilities here. So most of what is here is about the do's and the don'ts and what is in place and what is not in place.
Okay.
But we as inspectors, we go beyond this and we now start technically asking how good it is in a place, but how good is it?
Okay.
It's in a place, is it sufficient?
Okay.
You know, we are now moving away from just looking at what is in place and what's not in place to looking at quality. Okay? To looking at quality. So that is our work.
Okay.
I know there are so many.
Yes.
We can't go through the book.
Yes, but I want us to highlight just one, which is now the operational license.
Yes.
Because for every business to operate, there should be a license. KCCA requires all businesses within within Kampala to have an operational license. How important is this license?
It's good you have asked that question.
Yes.
And in many cases in KCCA, our stakeholders have mixed up an operational license with a trading license. They go and pay money because KCCA is asking for money for you to operate, which money you pay rightly in the bank with the receipt and everything. They will sit back and say, I'm licensed. Okay? But with us, we are saying, actually, the protocol is that a school is not supposed to get a trading license unless it has been given an operational license. So we make mistakes by going in for a trading license before we go in for an operating license. Okay. And an operating license is the beginning point of ratifying a school. Because a trading license is supposed to be for 2 years. And there are various performance indicators which must be in place, technically ratified by a technical person in the name of an inspector, for you to say, yes, this school now qualifies to be licensed. And it's supposed to be for 2 years. Then after 2 years, you go in what we call, what is it?
Registration.
Registration.
Okay.
Previously, we had a registration which was indefinite. But now the minister is saying registration should run for 5 years. And then there will be an evaluation of that registration to find out, does it still have the standards that it had 5 years ago, or it has gone down in terms of standards and it should be changed. So I want to say that a trading, one operational license is an end stage BRMS, an end stage basic requirement and minimum standards. That many things, there were about 25, I remember. They continue getting more and more as we see the schools not performing well. That many of those standards are put in place, and then you say, this is worth a school existing. Then you go on to say, I think you qualify to get a trading, an operational license. And when you go into registration, you find that the situation doesn't change much. It's almost the same scenario. You have just consolidated. Yes. You have just consolidated what you had in place in terms of an operation license. And when things are not working out well, they may say, no, I think we need to renew your license. You are not yet ripe for a trading registration.
Okay.
So one thing I want to say, let our customers be able to differentiate between a trading license and an operational license. A trading license is for making your business run. And we are saying it must be got after you have got an operational license. Getting it, you know, I want to say that maybe the person giving it to you wants to beat wants to beat her outputs you know, when we are working, the outputs you must achieve. And they will tell you, this term I want you to bring 10 billion to the organization. And when you bring 10 billion, you have achieved. And that's what somebody struggles with, not knowing that he's getting the 10 billion from schools that don't qualify to pay the money. I know they are getting it.
Yes.
So that's one scenario which I wanted to make it very clear.
Thank you so much, Mr. Juma. Madam Doreen, we are running out of time, but in a minute, what are your parting shots on this subject?
Thank you so much. My colleague has talked about license. When you were asking me about how do you know that a school is a school?
Yes.
And I've told you that the parents, the limits where they should act. When you're asking when you want to take your child to school, I think you should not be limited to ask. Because they told us they can ask. They've told us when we want to take a child to a private school, we should know whether you are licensed or not. There you have a right to ask. Do you have a license? They said the license is for 2 years. Are you registered? And the administrator should be able, the head teacher or the proprietor should be able to say, yes, I'm licensed. Then you ask for the evidence. Not trade license, that's it.
Which they normally pin somewhere at the reception.
So at least before you take your child to school, you should not, because you should not take your child to school, which will close any time. Which should close.
Okay.
You have already paid all your dues, and then following day, the inspector comes and says the school doesn't have the basic requirements for a school to operate. And you start to say, but we had paid our money. So it's your right now to go and ask before you pay your money. Is the school known? Because there are checklists of when a school is to be licensed. There are many things they ask them. Is the school known by the sub-county?
Okay.
And is it in the local? Is it in the sub-county plan?
Okay.
So it should be known by the OC one chairperson and the other local councils and yeah. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the role of parents, because at the end of the term, the school is supposed to give such a circular about all that has happened in the school, informing parents about what went well and what went wrong and their future plans, what they intend to do, so that the parents are aware of their school. If you have any question, you in parents meeting, you are free to ask and know. So I encourage parents, please, when they send these circulars, read them.
Okay. Read
them and see where the school has gone wrong, whether it is progressing or not. If you don't see any progress, then the liberty, you are free to change your child. Or ask, can you improve on this? If you have the passion for the school, you love it, and you want your child to be there for many reasons. Either it is near you, it is you like the location, you like other things apart from few, then you can sit, because you may fail to get a school which is 100%. Then you need to air out your issues, talk to the administrator, talk to the head teacher. What about this? I need to have this done.
Okay.
Yes, I want also to appeal to teachers and head teachers and directors of private schools. Please make the school environment conducive for our learners. My colleague has talked about we are all here because of the learner. Whatever we do, we get money, teachers are being paid, where a lot of money, government is giving out a lot of money, but for instructional material, but because they are doing all this because of the learner. So I want to appeal to teachers and our administrators there, please make sure you make the institution, the school, a conducive environment for our learners. Okay. And then inspectors, please go and inspect these schools. Make sure you make an impact. Like you said the other time that they just go and when they give them envelopes. But please make sure you check everything. Good enough we are giving you the tool that guides you on what you should look for. Make sure you leave no stone unturned. Okay. So that when a next person comes, he can really tell that there was someone here. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Doreen. Mr. JJ, in a minute, what are your parting shots on this subject?
One, I want to say school inspection should lead school improvement. School inspection by the external inspector and school inspection by the head teacher and his staff should lead to school improvement. If your school is going to remain the same, then you'll have no justification to tell us that you are inspecting that school. That's one. Two, I would like to thank government for 2 projects that have come in. Teller, teacher effectiveness and learner achievement, which is going on. And then 2, EMIS, Education Management Information Systems. And I want to report that today I received an officer from the Ministry of Education and Sports. I was so delighted because the officer is coming to help me ensure that EMIS data is entered into the system. Okay. And he's going to move from school to school. Okay. The first thing I told him is that I want to see the impact of your work. So I'm happy, I'm delighted. I want to thank government a great deal. I want to thank my colleague at the strategic level that this has come. We have come to see this seed. Okay. And I want to tell you that if government is able to do her work, then who are we that we are not going to do our work?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Juma, and thank you so much to you, our viewer, who has been watching us from where we started from. Adrian Austin Mukalazi is my name now. Tomorrow is Family Health. We shall be talking about the elderly dental diseases and how to manage them, so you don't have to miss out tomorrow's episode. But today, please, next is Soul Moment, and after Soul Moment, watch that movie. After the movie, endeavor to wake up with us on Good Morning Family. God bless you. Have a good night.